The night was darker than usual, and the wind moved slowly through the empty streets, as if it was whispering secrets that no one was supposed to hear, and in the middle of that silent town there stood a small abandoned house that everyone in the village avoided because people believed something strange lived inside it. For years the house had remained empty with broken windows and a door that creaked every time the wind touched it, and every child in the village had heard stories about the place from their parents and grandparents, stories about shadows moving behind the curtain, stories about lights appearing in the windows even though no one lived there, and stories about strange footsteps heard in the middle of the night. Most people ignored the stories and treated them like old myths meant to scare children, but there was one boy named Adam who had always been curious about the truth behind things, and whenever he heard someone talk about the abandoned house, his curiosity grew stronger. Adam was not like the other children in the village. He loved mysteries and strange stories, and instead of being afraid of them, he felt excited by them. He wanted to explore them, understand them, and discover the truth hidden behind the fear. One evening, as the sun slowly disappeared behind the hills, Adam decided that he would finally find out what was inside the abandoned house. He packed a small flashlight into his bag and quietly left his home while the village slowly prepared for the night. The road leading to the house was empty, and the trees on both sides seemed taller and darker. As Adam walked forward, every step felt heavier than the last, but his curiosity pushed him forward. When he finally reached the house, he stood still for a moment, looking at the broken windows and the old wooden door that looked like it had not been opened for years. The wind suddenly became stronger, and the door slowly moved, making a long creaking sound that echoed through the quiet night. Adam took a deep breath and pushed the door open. Inside the house, everything was covered with dust. Old furniture stood silently in the darkness, and the air smelled like time had been trapped inside the walls. Adam turned on his flashlight, and the thin beam of light slowly moved across the room, revealing broken chairs, old pictures hanging on the walls, and a staircase that disappeared into the darkness of the second floor. For a moment, Adam thought about leaving, but then he remembered why he came there. He wanted the truth. As he walked deeper into the house, he suddenly heard a faint sound. A slow, dragging noise. Adam stopped moving and listened carefully. The sound came again. It was coming from upstairs. His heart started beating faster, but his curiosity refused to let him leave. Slowly, he stepped toward the staircase. Each step made a soft cracking sound under his feet. The darkness upstairs seemed thicker, like it was hiding something. When Adam reached the top of the stairs, he noticed a long hallway with several closed doors. The sound came again. This time it was louder. It was coming from the last room at the end of the hallway. Adam slowly walked toward it, his flashlight shaking slightly in his hand. The closer he got, the louder the sound became. It was like something was moving across the floor. When he finally stood in front of the door, he hesitated for a moment. Then he slowly pushed it open. The room was empty. Or at least it looked empty. Dust covered the floor, and an old bed stood in the corner of the room. But something was strange. On the floor, Adam saw fresh marks in the dust. Long, dragging marks like something heavy had been moved recently. Suddenly, the door behind him slammed shut. Adam turned quickly, but the door would not open. His flashlight flickered. And then the dragging sound returned. This time it was coming from behind him. Adam slowly turned around. And what he saw made his entire body freeze. In the corner of the room, the shadow on the wall was moving. But there was nothing there creating it. The shadow slowly stretched across the wall as if it was alive. Adam felt the cold air around him grow heavier. The shadow moved closer and closer until it reached the center of the room. Adam tried to move, but fear held him in place. The shadow slowly rose from the wall and took a shape that looked almost human, but not completely human. It had long arms and a shape that twisted unnaturally in the darkness. And then it spoke. Not with a voice, but with a whisper inside Adam's mind. It said, "You were not supposed to come here." Adam felt his breath disappear. He wanted to scream, but no sound came out. The shadow moved closer, its shape growing darker and larger. It said, "No one who enters this house ever leaves with the truth." Adam suddenly remembered something his grandfather once told him. He said that sometimes fear is not something that traps you. Sometimes fear is something that tries to protect you. Adam closed his eyes for a moment. Then he opened them again. and instead of running away, he stepped forward. The shadow paused. As if surprised, Adam said quietly, "I am not afraid." The room suddenly became silent. The shadow stopped moving. For a moment, nothing happened. Then slowly the shadow began to fade. The darkness in the room lifted like fog disappearing in sunlight, and the door behind Adam slowly opened. Adam walked out of the room and quickly left the house. When he stepped outside, the cold night air felt different. The house behind him looked normal again. No strange shadows. No sounds. Just an old empty building. Adam walked back toward the village thinking about what he had just experienced. He never told anyone the full story of that night. But from that day forward, the strange stories about the abandoned house slowly disappeared. Because whatever lived inside it had finally been faced by someone who refused to run from fear. And sometimes that is all it takes to break the power of darkness. Not strength. Not magic. Just courage. And the decision to step forward when every instinct tells you to run. Because the truth about fear is something very few people understand. Fear only controls those who never face it. But the moment someone stands in front of it and refuses to look away, fear begins to disappear. Just like the shadow in that empty room. On that silent night, in the abandoned